Yeah, and then I get to do it again. I'm at 9 to noon too, so should be good. Cool. Check, 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 good. All right, you guys get a bonus special today. So today we're going to talk about 0 Day to Hero Day. This is a talk that I've been giving for about 2 years now. 1 second. So today we're going to talk about what we do when basically shit hits the fan. We have no plan to do anything, and how do we recover the business? Because quick show of hands, blue teamers, red teamers, the I do everything because my company doesn't give me enough budget. Yeah, there we go, there's my people. All right, so don't care about this stuff. So it's going to sound a little bit fictitious, but this is just kind of an amalgamation of a few different incidents that I've worked. It's the same story all the time, right? It's we don't have enough budget to give to our security team. Maybe even we don't have enough budget to fund our IT operations. So what happens is, bad stuff. Okay? Again, so I started giving this talk before a few of these hit. NotPetya is over $10 billion nowadays. There's this email server. Yeah, they just caught the dude just writing zeros to all their backups and everything. So, are we recording this? Okay. Yeah, this is a very hypothetical situation that definitely never happened before. So you get a text message from your boss late at night. Said, hey, can you check out a couple things? We can't get to anything on the network. So you log into your servers and you see this. Maybe you see this one. Possibly this one. Anybody know this one? Bonus points? Want to cry? It was a small thing. It hit the news. Maybe even you see this one. They just wiped the drives, right? All right, so what do we do? Yeah, I should have known no interaction from here, right? So we got instant response. Where's our instant response plans? Well, we knew this was a thing that we needed to do. We just never got around to it. Awesome. Disaster recovery. Oh, yeah. We got disaster recovery. 4 years ago, Jim ran this thing. He said that some of the systems came up and he was documenting everything else that didn't. Cool. Does anybody know what the hell is going on here? Do we have any system docs? Well, yeah, remember Jim? Jim died 2 years ago. So, all right, let's do this, all right? So here's some lessons that we've learned a little bit about recovering from scorched earth. Chances are, if you got hit by one of these nasty ransomwares, it propagated everywhere because you don't have ideas of network isolation or segmentation if you have 445 open up to the internet, right? So step one, this is gonna suck. It's gonna be one of the worst experiences of your life, and you can't screw it up. So if you're moving quickly and you screw something up, chances are you're going bankrupt because the business is down already, you're gonna keep them down more. So remember these two things, and then, yeah, it's gonna be terrible, you're not gonna sleep, but afterwards you can come up on stage and talk about it a little bit. This is a step that not many people know unless you've been through an incident. Always have legal engage your incident response retainer. Everything needs to be client confidential. This is going to save your butt when you go to court. Make sure that legal is initiating all this stuff. They just have to be on the phone call with you. They're not going to be actually talking to technical jargon, but they have to be there to keep client confidentiality. It's going to keep you out of hot water when things become discoverable in court on why this happened, if you're going to your cyber insurance company or something like that. So just make sure legal's on the calls. All right, so we got patient. Patience is business. Business is dying. So what do? So we got to figure out exactly how to stabilize this situation. We're going to talk about 3 different things. We're going to talk about what do we know. We're going to talk about how we stop the bleeding, and then make sure that we don't make the situation worse. Because the last thing we want to do is actually wipe backups when that was our last hope. So I promise you that if I've worked for you before, this is not your network diagram. This just happens to be everybody's network diagram. All right, we got these legacy Windows that we just can't retire because, oh my God, the PLC systems are running on Windows 2003. We can't touch those. We got some clients, some laptops. Maybe we got some MacBooks in there too. We're moving to the cloud because cloud's cool. But in the corner, this dusty old machine, it says IBM on it. All right, we got some connections out there and we connect to the internet. So this is kind of what systems look like. This is where we're at now. All right, so Windows are dead. The IBM thing is still chugging along because for some reason viruses aren't being written for IBM stuff right now, or we just don't know about them. Hey, we got some C2 traffic going to the internet. We got traffic going in between the client and the Windows servers. Cloud looks okay because they figured out, yeah, firewalls are good. Really flat network, right? So as people are coming in the office, powering on their systems, they're getting ransomed, right? So you just see computers come up, computers go down. So what do we do? Anybody? Save this company. What should we do first? Unplug the internet. Cool. Seriously, yeah, that is an answer. What else are we doing? Shutting down infected machines. Cool. What else? Block C2. Cool. What else? Come on, I know we're all smart people here. And it's not that early. Yeah, way back there. Come on. Dumb memory. Yes. I love forensics. Cool. Yes. Yes. Blinky boxes. Right? So here's one that I usually hear that I didn't hear today. Update your resume, right? That's step number one. Make sure you are protected, right? So we're going to list all the actions that we have, right? We can disconnect systems. We can power down servers. Disable all the users, right? They have to be using users somehow. Let's disable them all. Once you have your list of what you're going to do, you list out the bad things, right? So if we disconnect from the internet, we don't have any business transactions happening. The business is down. It might be okay, but we want to make sure everybody understands what's going on so we can make informed decisions. So that's usually what we do, right? So we disable routing. We're looking at the core. We're ACLing off stuff, right? And what we're going to end up with are these isolated areas of investigation and remediation. So here's the big thing, though, is, okay, you got your systems down, your business is down. Go get your management to figure out how to make money without your systems. Number 3 is a big one. There's going to be a lot of people that want to help. A lot of people are useless. Make sure you're sending them home. They might have some great ideas that are going to send you down rabbit holes that will cost you, right? Make sure you got your top dogs on this, and we're working towards a resolution. So we've disconnected everything. Business is down. Okay? We're on to step 2. So what's broken? How bad is it? What do we need to do to fix it? And what do we do first? Simple questions. Keep them in the back of your head when you're working on this because you're not going to be able to think. You just have to do. So be careful with the what is broken question because this is the answer you're going to get. I actually recorded one of the boardrooms when I came in and asked what was broken. That was their response. Oh, we're not going to play. It's a PDF. So it's him screwing. But so let's change that question a little bit. So instead of asking what's broken, what do we need to do to stay in business? That's actually going to garner a response that's somewhat helpful, right? So here's a business cycle for 90% of businesses, right? We're going to take orders, we're going to do something, we're going to ship it, we're going to pay bills, we're going to get money. Cool. How do we do these things? This is where, if you got some red teamers or anything, you're basically black box pen test now, because we have no system documentation. We got to figure out how the hell to put Humpty Dumpty back together again, right? We're going to be looking for absolutely anything and everything that we could. Call up your ISPs. See if they have network logs. See if you got backups. No joke. Anybody working in data center with a raised floor? Pop off the floor tiles. I found a DR binder in there once. It was really dusty, but it had some system inventory on there, right? Any information is good information. Put it up on a whiteboard. This is what you're looking for. Problem is, this is what it's going to look like to everybody else. Okay? So here's your pro tip of the day. If you want anything done in business, put it in Excel. Make it a task list. Okay? Other pro tips, red, green. Red, bad. Green, good. Management understands that. Right? So we're going to list out all the functions that we need to do, the systems that pertain to it, and then what step in the remediation we're in. Put this up on a TV projector or somewhere outside of your war room. You do not want to be giving status updates. You need to work. You cannot be telling people every 5 minutes that you didn't get anything done because you're preparing the next status update. Okay? Make it easy for somebody to see this. Cool. So we kind of got a plan of attack. How do we restore this safely? So we know that we have some bad systems in this area. We know we got a backup system. We're going to restore to this idea called a quarantine, and then we're going to put it into this new network. There's one problem. And the backup systems are usually running Windows and they're affected too. So, how many people here have offline backups? Okay, I should see everybody's hands. We're going to tape on this one. Or if you got storage that's offline for 3 days or whatever your idea is, if you are under a ransomware attack, chances are the backups are going to be the first things hit. Make sure that you have offline backup somewhere. Okay? So now, we're going to build a new backup system. And we're going to rebuild the tape catalog. So now we can start our rebuild process, right? So a lot of people skip this quarantine step and go straight into the prod network again. That's not going to be good because what if they've been here for 6 months, a year, 3 years, right? If we're dealing with a nation state, chances are they didn't ransomware your system, they just wiped them because they were hiding their tracks and they've been using you 2, 3, 4 years. So we're going to put in a quarantine. This is an out-of-band air-gap network. Say it again. This is an out-of-band air-gap network. Physically, virtually, every single way. You cannot risk a reinfection at this point. Because, let's see here, we had to get the tapes from somewhere in Timbuktu, shipped them out here, so we chartered a jet, got the tapes finally in. We had to get a new tape library because we needed more drive space. So we're about, I don't know, 20 hours into incident right now. Business is already complaining. They're like, well, how long is this going to take? If you start restoring, you're in day 3, day 4 of remediation, and all of a sudden you get a reinfection, you're starting to clock back at ground zero, and it could cost the business. Make sure that you are going to this quarantine and you're checking for the IOAs, IOCs, and everything else. Make sure those things are clean. Then we're going to move into the new network. So here's another tip for today. Does anybody know what happens when you get breached to your budget? It goes way up. Do you know how up it goes? There is a blank check for you saying, fix this now. So what do we want to do? What are we spending our money on? New stuff. Yes. What kind of stuff? The good stuff. Every vendor in the vendor hall is happy to sell you things. Which ones are the right answers, though? None of them. Yeah. All right, so what work are we doing? We're not doing anything because we're updating our resumes. All right, I'll give you hints. So this is our chance to greenfield install some stuff. We're going to implement some segmentation. AD is hosed. We need new AD environment. All right, they popped DA 6 months ago and they've installed users. You can't trust anything at this point. We could try to recertify and everything, but realistically, we need to get the business running before we can get users back up. So let's build out a new forest. We're putting in some type of app-aware firewalls, IDS, IPS, next-gen firewall, whatever we're going to call it now. I need something to detect what's actually leaving. Because anybody know the most popular way of exfil right now? DNS. Right? If we're not looking at that traffic, it's possible the data's going right underneath our nose. Put in a SIM, something, right? Because anybody have kids here, little kids? If you take a ball away from a toddler, what is the only thing the toddler wants again? Right? You just took away the attacker's ball. They're going to want it back in. We're going to be ready when they come back. MFA anything that is external, right? These are best practices. But again, if we're in this situation, it's because we were missing a best practice, probably 1, 2, or 3 of them. Right? Get your outbound proxies out there, get some email protection, make sure people aren't clicking shit. Get a vulnerability scanner because you're probably running Java from 2002, right? So, wonderful. At this point, probably 5, 6 days going in, maybe 5 hours of sleep. Your war room's starting to smell pretty terrible. You got to define a point at being done because you can't keep this up forever, right? You still got the business down. So can you bring the business back up? Can you do the basic functions to make money? If you can, let's bring them up. How do we bring everything else up safely then, right? And then this is a big one, sleep deprivation. Easiest way, if you don't have money and you want to get drunk, just don't sleep. You're going to start hallucinating. You're going to start thinking things, like you're going to hear shit. Make sure that you figure out when you can make sleep because you're going to accidentally press the delete button on when you shouldn't have, right? So define all these conditions before in your tabletop exercise and everything so you don't have to do this in like hour 150 of recovery. Other miscellaneous tips. Again, 3-2-1 rule of cons applies here. 3 hours of sleep, 2 meals, 1 shower. You do your best. You're never going to get there. And assign a war room manager. You're going to need somebody that takes care of the room, that schedules the meetings, that orders food, that takes all the notes and makes sure that they're getting pictures of all the whiteboards. You're going to need somebody to organize all this then. As at the bottom, save everything. USB drives are cheap. Go buy everything that they have at Best Buy. Don't delete stuff. You never know what's going to save you in an investigation or provide evidence to the authorities. This last one, this is funny. If your email systems pop, do not communicate new credentials over email. It's a bad idea. Figure out how you're going to do this securely. Personal phones, use Signal, use Tor, right? We're security professionals, we know how to do this stuff. So here's the second lesson I get to give you guys. I never want to do that again. That was awful, right? So how do we do that? All right, so again, we're gonna start asking questions. I always like asking questions, not answering them. Answering them's work. I just like, delegate it out like a good manager. So where are we weak? How do we prioritize this? It's gap analysis, right? CISPs in the room? Yeah, a few, okay. All right, like this is the boring management work, right? So where are we? Where do we wanna be? How do we get there? Where are we is easy to answer, right? We know where we're at. We're at ground zero. Where do we want to be? Go steal somebody else's work. Any one of these. Go pick a framework that you understand and run with it. They're going to be better than what you had before. So this is my attempt at, anybody here read NIST documents? They're terrible, right? I mean, it's kind of like an AA meeting. It's NIST anonymous. But they're boring to read. They're terrible. So what it is, I took all the NIST 853 controls and just made them into single sentences. Oh, by the way, feel free to take pictures, everything. This is all up on GitHub, SlideShare, my Twitter. They're all over the place. Everything's downloadable too. So feel free to steal this. But what I did is every NIST control gets a card, and we are going to assign a maturity level to the cards, right? So here's a zoom up. So NIST, I think, has 23 pages on physical inventory. Jesus, like, have a spreadsheet of systems done, right? So physical devices are inventoried. We can define this on 1 through 5. Anybody, CMM, capabilities, maturity model. All right, we'll go over it. So the idea is you got a scale of 1 to 5. And you measure your control based on these criteria, right? So you start at 1 is ad hoc. Somebody's always thinking about the decision, and the outcome is always determined by whoever is thinking about it. Step number 2 is repeatable. Well, that person's going to make the same decision twice in a row, 3 times in a row. 3 is defined. That team now can make the same decision and get the same outcome, right? This is kind of where your processes and procedures come in. 4 is all about managing exceptions. So do we notice if process isn't followed? And are we alerted to it? 5 is continual improvement. This is the goal for everything, but don't make everything be a 5, right? Physical devices or inventory probably doesn't need to be a 5. 3 is probably good enough. Because if you make everything a 5, you're going to overspend. You're going to be not utilizing your budget right. Because every dollar they're given security is a dollar that they cannot invest into making more money, right? So again, so we talk about we're at a 0. We don't have any inventory, as we learned through the incident. We want to be at 3, right? We want some type of process in play where we get new assets in, and it goes into the tracker, and then when we get rid of the assets, it comes out of the tracker, and we know where the asset is and the deprecation value and all that stuff, right? So we're going to implement an asset management program. We set up some goals. And eventually, when you go through all these cards, you're going to get programs. So we're going to have all these different programs spun up. We're going to have a portfolio. So that's a lot of work, Ryan. How are we going to get this done? Well, obviously, we threat model. We're good at this, right? We're going to talk about data flow diagrams. We're going to talk about entity relationships. So we're going to talk about the geopolitical relationships of the Middle East. And yeah, no. We just got popped. We are not ready for this. Let's break it down. There's some bad people out there. We got some protections, and we got stuff we're protecting, right? So let's think of it that way. So what do we do first? Again, we're going impact and likelihood. So where are we now? Grand Rapids? What's the likelihood of an earthquake to hit Grand Rapids? Small, 0, right? What's the likelihood that it gets snow to the point that the office has to close, right? So that's your likelihood. Impact, how much money is it going to cost when that happens? Right? So if an earthquake were to hit here, it'd probably be bad, right? So you're going to have a high impact, but a super low likelihood. And what happens is when you put this overlay on, you're gonna get this, right? So again, top right's always good in graphs. Make it green, management knows, right? So we got things that we know is gonna happen, it's gonna cost a lot of money, we need to mitigate that. The problem is, what this is lacking is one piece of the equation, effort. So I take this and take it one more. So we're gonna put the loss expectancy. So if we go back to here, and you take the product of the impact and the likelihood, you get this thing called loss expectancy. Let's put the loss expectancy up on the Y graph and put ease of implementation on the X. Now what we have is a bang for buck diagram. Anybody here running laps? Okay, not as many hands as I want to see. Laps is an example of a no-brainer. Anybody that deployed it, how easy is it? Super easy, right? You run this script, you push GPO, you're done. Anybody that doesn't know what laps is, local admin password solution. So what it does is it rotates all your Windows local administrators passwords. It gives you a GUI to pull the password, and you can click rotate password whenever you would like. You set that up to whatever interval you have. Maybe it's 8 hours, maybe it's 24 hours, something like that. It rotates your passwords. It's wonderful. It's super easy to deploy. This is a no-brainer, because how many people here have laptops deployed with change me 123 or something like company 123? It's terrible. So I pop a laptop, I popped all laptops. Go deploy labs. Other things that we hadn't up with are big projects, right? So these are things very difficult, but it's going to make a huge impact. This is stuff like microsegmentation, zero trust architecture, move to the cloud, AWS, all that stuff, right? Those are huge projects, but those are going to take more time, more effort. Let's capitalize on the small wins and the easy stuff. And you go, right? So here's my ideas. Here's what we're prioritizing. Boss, I need some money. We're going to get this done. Cool. How many people you need? Well, it's going to be 3 full times for a year and a half. We're going to need to buy a couple different appliances. It's going to cost us $1.5 million in CapEx, probably $100,000 in OpEx, right? So we have all this stuff built out. We say, hey, we're going to split off the teams. We're going to have a lead over here, lead over here, lead over here. We're going to meet once a week to talk about progress, make sure that we're actually doing something here. We're going to reprioritize these maybe quarterly, make sure that we're still on track with the business, and we're going to continue our gap analysis. Congratulations. Everyone's a CISO here, whether you like it or not. Poor Harry. So that's the bonus talk for today. I keep this one in my back pocket all the time just in case this stuff happens, because it usually sparks pretty good conversations. So yeah, that's fun and stuff, but really I want to talk to everybody here. And what do you think is the biggest problems that we have in information security? Anybody? Complexity. No budget. Staffing. Skill. Lack of leadership. So, balancing between usability and security. You notice how none of these are technical? Technical is easy stuff. It's less than half of what we do, though. So, how do we solve this? All right. And here's my teaser for coming up in 10 minutes at noon. So we're going to talk about how do we fix this problem? How do we communicate effectively to make sure that we become those leaders? If there's a lack of leadership, there's a void. That means opportunity. Let's go be those leaders. If we don't have a budget to get our shit done, how are we going to protect this place? So let's go get a budget. All right? If we got a lack of skill, how do we treat the skill problem? We train. We execute. All right? So, does anybody else have anything they want to talk about? Absolutely anything. Yes. So, there's my Twitter. Go to my Twitter. It's a pinned tweet, link to a slide deck. Otherwise, let's go all the way back to the front. I got my GitHub there. All my talks are up on the GitHub too. So, you can cheat and find the one that we're going to be talking about in a couple minutes. Holy cow, that's a lot of slides. Oh, we're almost there. Almost there. Oh, I'm lying. Let me pull up my other talk. I got 8 minutes. Sir, what is today, Friday? Yeah. So we got football coming up tomorrow. Go Blue. University of Michigan, anybody? Okay, I heard some boos. Who are we rooting for here? See, I'm from Chicago, so I have nobody to root for. Well, I mean, you know, Chicago Bears fans and Detroit Lions fans, they kind of share some sympathies. Hey, back in '85, we're still holding on to that.